All right. So, section 7.4, we're going to talk about special right triangles. There are two types of special right triangles. The first one is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. 45, 45, and 90 are the three angle measures. All right? So, what kind of triangle do we have when we have two congruent angle measures? Isosceles. All right? So if we have an isosceles right triangle, that means it's a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So that means the two legs are the same length and the hypotenuse is different. Okay? Specifically, the hypotenuse will be the length of the legs times the square root of 2. So if we know one of the leg lengths, we also know the other leg lengths because a 45, 45, 90 is isosceles. And to get the hypotenuse, you just multiply the length of the legs times the square root of 2. Okay? Memorize that triangle. The legs are x, and the hypotenuse is the length of the leg times the square root of 2. Memorize it. All right. So, find the length of the hypotenuse of these two triangles. So, if one angle measure is 45 degrees and the other one is 90, what must the third angle measure be? It's also 45 degrees because, hello, if you subtract from 180, that's what's left. Okay? So it wants the length of the hypotenuse. Now, we know the hypotenuse is always across from the 90-degree angle. And I just told you, or that theorem just told you, how do we get the hypotenuse? Radical 2. Leg times radical 2. So you just take 8 and you multiply it times the square root of 2. And you can't take the square root of 2 and you cannot simplify the square root of 2. So that's your answer, 8 radical 2. That's it. You just multiply whatever the leg is times radical 2. And if it's just an integer, you just squish them together. So another question, what's the length of the other leg? It's 8. It's isosceles. 45, 45, and 90s are isosceles. So if I know one leg, I know the other leg. All right, look at number 2. I'm looking for the hypotenuse. And I know it's a 45, 45, 90 because it's isosceles, because both of these legs are the same. So even though they didn't tell me an angle measure for either one of the angles, I know it has to be 45 and 45 because I know they have to equal each other and be subtracted from 90 to get 180. Right? So I know it's a 45, 45, 90. And how do I get the hypotenuse if I know a leg? So it's going to be 3 radical 2, which is the length of my leg, times radical 2 to get me the length of the hypotenuse. So it's 3 radical 2 times radical 2. So I multiply underneath both radicals. So what's radical 2 times radical 2? Radical 4. So 3 radical 4. Y'all, what's the square root of 4? So this is just 3 times 2, which equals what? 6. Y'all see how I did that? 4 is a perfect square. So that's just 2. And so you multiply it times your coefficient. 3 times 2 is 6. So that's how you find a hypotenuse. You take the leg and multiply it times radical 2. What if you're doing it backwards? What if they give you the hypotenuse and you need to find the leg? Well, if you're going to find the hypotenuse, you multiply times radical 2. And if they give you the hypotenuse, you needed to do the opposite. What's the opposite of multiplying times radical 2? Dividing by radical 2. So on example 3 here, we're looking for the length of the legs, which are x and x. Okay? We don't know what they are, but I know the hypotenuse is 5 radical 2 because it's across from the 90-degree angle. So to get just the leg, I'm going to divide 5 radical 2 by radical 2. So you're going to say 5 radical 2 divided by radical 2. Well, what's anything divided by itself? 1, right? So radical 2 over radical 2 cancels out, and the answer is just 5. So if you're looking for a leg in a 45, 45, 90, you just divide by radical 2. If you're looking for the hypotenuse, you multiply the leg by radical 2. So if they give you hypotenuse, you divide. If they give you a leg, you multiply. Does that make sense? So on number 4, we're looking for the legs. What's the hypotenuse? 15 radical 2. So if I have the hypotenuse and I need a leg, what do? Divide by radical 2. And what's 15 radical 2 divided by radical 2 equal? 15. Any questions? All right, y'all can try these on page 458. If you can't read mine, I don't know why they're in red. But if you can't read mine, open your book to page 458. I want you to find either the missing leg or the missing hypotenuse, whichever one it is. Find all 3 of them, please. Yeah, that's 2 radical 2. When you get all 3 missing sides, you can check them with the neighbor's missing sides. That's crooked, but okay. Okay, y'all help me out. On number 1, are you looking for a leg or a hypotenuse? On number 1, they gave you the hypotenuse and you're looking for the legs, right? Which are going to be the same as each other. So how do you get the legs if they give you the hypotenuse? So you take 2 radical 2 and you divide by radical 2. So what's the length of the legs? 2. Raise your hand if you got 2 for number 1. Any questions? Number 2, are you looking for the leg or hypotenuse? So what do? Multiply the leg by radical 2. So it's radical 2 times radical 2, which is Just plain old 2. Raise your hand if you got 2 for that one as well. The last one, you're looking for the diameter of that square, which is also a what to those right triangles? Hypotenuse. Okay, so I'll just throw my pen. There's the hypotenuse. D is the hypotenuse. All right, so how do you get a hypotenuse? Legs times radical 2. What's the length of the leg? So it's just 8 radical 2. So raise your hand if you got 8 radical 2. Good job. All right. Next, we're going to talk about 30, 60, 90 triangles, and they're a little bit more complicated because they're not isosceles. So at least for 45, 45, 90, if you know one leg, you know the other. 30, 60, 90s are not that simple. So I'm going to give you a second and let you write that down. You need to draw the triangle and memorize. Memorize, memorize, memorize. Now on the test on Monday, I'm not going to have those pictures drawn for you anywhere. The board will be clean. You will have to know what the short leg of a 30, 60, 90s measure is supposed to be, what the long leg is supposed to be, and what the hypotenuse is supposed to be. Okay? The short leg is across from the smallest angle. I don't remember what chapter we talked about that, but we did have talked about that before about a triangle. The smallest leg is across from the smallest angle. The middle length leg is across from the medium-sized angle, and the largest side is across from the largest angle. So, you know the hypotenuse is always your largest leg because it's across from your 90-degree angle. Your smallest side will be the leg that's across from the 30-degree angle because 30 is smaller than 60. So that's your shortest side. Your longest side is across, or your longest leg is across from the 60-degree angle. Okay? So, the smallest side will be your key. Okay? That's the one you base everything off of, is your X, your shortest side, your shortest leg. So, to get the longer leg, you're going to multiply your short leg times radical 3. And then to get your hypotenuse, you're going to double the short leg. So if we know the short leg, everything's easy. It's when you don't know the short leg when things kind of get a little hairy with these. Okay? Then we got to do a little bit of more math. All right. Find the height of this triangle. It was an equilateral triangle because it says 60, 60, and that one would have been 60. The height is the altitude. So that altitude there broke this into a right triangle, and it's a 30, 60, 90 triangle because here's my right angle, here's 60 degrees, so that means there's 30 degrees on top, right? So it's a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. The height, is that the short leg, the long leg, or the hypotenuse? Yeah, here's the right angle, so 6 is the hypotenuse, right? So it's the long leg, so that means we know the short leg. What's the short leg? 3. And double check, is the hypotenuse what I get when I double 3? Yes. So what do I do to the short leg to get it to be the long leg? Multiply it by radical 3. So it's just going to be 3 times radical 3, which is just 3 radical 3, and it's in centimeters, so I need centimeters. So that's it. So if you know the short leg, to get the long leg, you just multiply by radical 3, and to get the hypotenuse, you just double the short leg. That's it. So if we know the short leg, life is good on a 30, 60, 90. If you don't know the short leg, it's going to be a little bit more complicated. Like this one. All right, so draw this picture, please. This is the 30-degree angle. This is the 60-degree angle. And they tell us one measure of one side is 9 units. So, which one did they give us? The short leg, the long leg, or the hypotenuse? They gave me the long leg. All right? So before I can find anything else, I need to find the short leg. Okay? It's exactly going to be 9 divided by radical 3. Okay? So the long leg, remember, is radical 3 times the short leg, right? So if we're going backwards and we need to find the short leg, we got to divide this by radical 3. Y'all with me? So I'm going to say 9 divided by radical 3. Now you're going to know why we practiced doing this the other day. Okay? Now how do we get rid of radicals in the denominator? Multiply by radical 3 over radical 3. Remember this from the other day? I think it was Monday. Multiply across. What's 9 times radical 3? And what's radical 3 times radical 3? And what's the square root of 9? So that's 9 radical 3 over 3. And then these are, they're both coefficients that will reduce. So what is 9 divided by 3? So it's 3 radical 3. So there's my short leg, 3 radical 3. That's my short leg. That's x, I guess you would say. So how do I get my hypotenuse? Yes. So I double my short leg to get the hypotenuse. So you just multiply the exterior number. So what is 2 times 3? So the hypotenuse is 6 radical 3. That's as hard as it gets, is when they give you the long leg. Because you got to start by dividing by radical 3. Okay? So they give you the long leg. You divide by radical 3 to get back to the short leg. You double the short leg to get the hypotenuse. Okay? That's seriously the hardest ones they give you, is when they give you the long leg. If they give you the short leg, it's a lot simpler to me. And if they give you the hypotenuse, you just divide it by 2 to get the short leg, and then you multiply by radical 3 to get the long leg. All right. Oh, they did it to me again. They did it the hard way again. Which one did they give me? Short leg, long leg, or hypotenuse? Yeah, the one across from the 60 is the long leg. Okay? So first we need to get the short leg, which is A. How are we going to get that? Well, long leg is short leg times radical 3, right? So we got to divide it by radical 3 to get back to the short leg. So that means I have to do what? Multiply by radical 3 over radical 3. Multiply across. 15 times radical 3 is over radical 9. What's the square root of 9? What is 15 divided by 3? 5. So A is 5 radical 3. Y'all with me? And then how do I get the hypotenuse, which is B? 2 times 5 radical 3, which is 10 radical 3. That's seriously as hard as they get. All right, the next thing I have for us to do is example 6 on page 640. I'm going to read that just for context because I don't remember what that says. 460. I probably said 640. I'm being dyslexic today. Oh, it's a dump truck. That's so cute. Y'all look on page 460. So cute. My boys would like this problem. Davis would tell you all about the hydraulics. He loves hydraulics. Like every time he opens a door and it has them on the top, like that one, he tells me it's a hinge. But the ones out in the commons have hydraulics on. Physics are fun at my house. All right. So it says the body of a dump truck is raised to empty a load of sand. How high is the 14-foot body from the frame when it is tipped upward at the given angle? And the first one is a 45-degree angle. So here's my dump truck. Here it is laying flat, and I raise it up, the bed of the truck up, and that's the 14 feet right there, until it's at a 45-degree angle. Okay? So this gives us a 45, 45, 90 triangle. I obviously did not draw mine to scale because these two lengths should be the same. Correct? Correct? So I've got to find how high the top of the bed is from the base. Does that make sense? So I'm looking for this height right here. How do we do that? All right, so go back to 45, 45, 90 triangles now. Divide 14 by radical 2, correct? Because 14 is the hypotenuse. So to get the leg, I divide by radical 2. So 14 divided by radical 2. And then how do I simplify that? Multiply by radical 2 over radical 2. Multiply across. 14 times radical 2 is 14 radical 2. Divided by the square root of 4. And what is the square root of 4? So what's 14 divided by 2? 7 radical 2, and that is feet. Correct? All right. So if you want to find that as a number, since it kind of makes sense in the problem, the book said that was approximately 9.9 feet. Okay. All right. The next part says, what if they raise it to a 60-degree angle? So they make it more steep. So obviously the height of it will be higher up. Right? Oh, I don't know why I left that there. I left that answer there and I shouldn't have. Sorry. Okay. So first we have to find the short leg. And if the hypotenuse is 14, the short leg I get by dividing by 2. Does that make sense? So that's how that is set. Does that make sense? Okay, now that I know the short leg, it's really easy to find the height. What do I do if I have a 30, 60, 90? How do I get the long leg? Short leg times radical 3. So that's just going to be 7 radical 3 feet. Does that make sense? Y'all see how we got the short leg? The short leg in a 30, 60, 90 is hypotenuse divided by 2. And then get to long leg, you just multiply that number by radical 3. Does that make sense? How are we going to get good at these, y'all? We're going to practice. I want y'all to try that. Actually, I want you to open your book to page 460. Because I don't think my problems don't make sense to me, so they probably won't make sense to you. Because I can't draw worth a poot. So y'all open to page 460. I want you to try number 5 and number 6. Page 460, number 5 and number 6. Their pictures are a lot better than mine, so you might want to open your book. finding the missing variable. Oops. No, robotics things collecting plastic bottles. Check them with somebody. All right, y'all help me out. On number 5, did they give you the short leg or the long leg? Or the hypotenuse? They gave you the short leg. So if they and it's a 30, 60, 90, correct? So if they gave me the short leg, we're looking for X, which is the long leg. How do I find the long leg? I divide by it? Yeah, if they give you short leg, you multiply. If they give you long leg and you need short leg, you divide. Does that make sense? Are y'all with me? Look at your angle measures. It's important. The short leg is across from the 30-degree angle. Okay? So they gave me short leg. So to get long leg, I multiply by radical 3. So this is radical 3 times radical 3, which is radical, which equals just plain 3. Raise your hand if you got 3 for your answer. Any questions? What if they asked me for the hypotenuse? What would the hypotenuse be? What's the short leg? What do you get when you double radical 3? 1 radical 3 times 2 is 2 radical 3. Got it? No, doubling things are not confusing. If I have one pin plus one pin, I have two pins. I don't have radical 3 pins. Right? Right? So if I have one radical 3 plus one radical 3, I have two radical 3s. Right? They'll ask you stuff like this on this worksheet. That's why I'm asking. And on your test. So on 6, what kind of triangles you got going on 6? It's a 30, 60, 90 again. And you're looking for H. Is H the hypotenuse, short leg, or long leg? It's across from the 60 degree, so it's the long leg. Did they give you the short leg? Yeah, so life is easy, right? How do you get the long leg if you know the short leg? It's 2 times radical 3, which is just plain old 2 radical 3. Raise your hand if you got 2 radical 3 for number 6. How are we going to get good at this, y'all? We're going to practice. So I'm going to end the lesson for today. Thanks for stopping by and watching me on YouTube. This is Miss Isbell, your favorite algebra and geometry teacher, signing off. Have a good day.